Mist curled between the old pines as dusk spilled over Sable Hollow. Lanterns dangled from the eaves, bobbing in the breeze, their amber glow smearing shapes in the thickening fog. The whole village came alive during the Lantern Festival. Children darted between stalls, laughter split the silence, and elders whispered tales that were never meant for sunlight. Mira slipped behind her mother's lantern cart, fidgeting with her apron. She hid from the merrymakers' prying eyes. The noise rattled her stomach. She'd always been better among quiet things, old books, forgotten corners, and now the lanterns, which she polished with trembling fingers. "You didn't tie that one properly," a gruff voice said. Mira startled. Her Uncle Tolan loomed, lantern in hand, a crooked grin softening his lined face. "If the spirits see a crooked lantern, they might think the festival's a farce. Could curse the whole lot of us." Mira's cheeks flared. "Sorry, Uncle, I'll fix it." He ruffled her hair. "It's your first year prepping for festival night. Everyone trips up, Mira. Don't let the old stories frighten you. They're just that, stories." But that night, as the first lanterns floated into the pale sky, something strange happened. The luminous orbs shimmered brighter than ever, softly pulsing, almost alive. Mira, curiosity getting the better of her, followed one as it drifted to the edge of the woods. The village faded behind her. Lantern light danced on tangled roots. In the half-dark, wispy figures flickered among the trees, playful, quick, and not quite real. Mira's heart pounded. She stepped closer, her breath clouding. A tiny cackling flame zipped past her ear and circled her ankle, cold as river water despite its golden hue. She stumbled backwards, right into someone's legs. A stranger, cloaked in midnight blue, caught her, their eyes glinting sharp as flint. "Careful, little lantern keeper," the stranger murmured. "There's much you do not yet understand about Sable Hollow's light, or its darkness." Mira tensed in the stranger's grasp, every instinct willing her to break free and run for daylight. Instead, the lantern's strange gleam pinned her in place. The cloaked figure released her gently, stepping back into the wavering shadows. "Who are you?" Mira whispered, hugging herself. The forest pressed in, its hush loud in her ears. The stranger tilted their head. "Names are a kind of key, you know, but for now call me Silas." Mira swallowed. The lurking wisps zipped between branches, occasionally pausing to peer at her with pale, smoky eyes. "Those aren't normal festival lights, are they?" Silas's lips curved. "Not exactly. These spirits have been drawn to the lanterns for generations. They feed on memories, sneak into dreams, unravel the threads of who you are, but only if invited." Mira felt cold. "Invited? How?" He knelt, tracing a finger through the moss. "By forgotten pacts, by not knowing or remembering the bargain your ancestors struck." Wind hissed, lanterns overhead dimming as if cowering from a deeper night. Mira clutched her apron. "What kind of bargain?" Silas fixed her with a steady gaze. "Long ago, your village traded their darkest memories to the spirits in return for safety. Only now, the spirits hunger for more. The bright bits, the joys people hold dearest. Tonight is the turning point. If the bargain isn't renewed, they'll take everything." The thought made Mira's stomach twist. "All our memories? Forever?" Behind her came faint giggles. Neighbors on the festival path, unaware of chilling truths among the trees. Mira squared her shoulders, her voice trembling. "Can you help me stop them?" Silas considered her, measuring perhaps the resolve in Mira's eyes. "You're braver than you know, apprentice. If you listen well, there's just enough time. But you'll need the truth, the true lantern, and a heart that remembers what everyone else has chosen to forget." A hollow cry rose on the wind. Mira nodded, her fear freshly tempered by purpose. "Then tell me what to do, Silas. I'll remember." Lanterns swung in the trees, casting eerie shadows on Mira and Silas as they ducked beneath low branches. Silas led with purpose, his cloak sweeping over dew-dark grass. Mira hurried after him, her pulse thrumming like a snare drum. "What is the true lantern?" she asked, dodging a stray wisp as it zipped by, giggling with sly delight. Silas's eyes glinted in the gloom. "It's not like the ones you hang in the square. It's older. Crafted the night your village struck the deal. Inside it burns the first memory ever taken, a piece of darkness and light. If you find it, you might persuade the spirits to listen." Mira frowned, wriggling her fingers anxiously. "Where is it? Why does no one else remember any of this?" Silas stopped, sinking onto a mossy log. "The spirits are clever. Each festival they dip deeper into the well of memory, Most villagers forget the old danger unless they've seen it with open eyes. He peered at Mira, voice softening. But sometimes someone with a careful heart, someone who still asks why, can see what others can't. Mira looked away, suddenly ashamed. I'm not brave, I just get left out. People never notice me. He smiled faintly. Being ignored can be a kind of protection, or an invitation to notice more than others do. Where do you feel safest, Mira? She hesitated. The archives, beneath the chapel. My mother says I spend too much time there. Then that's where we start, Silas replied. The answers usually wait underground. Spirits avoid places holding memories in ink and parchment. You gather your courage, and I'll meet you there at moonrise. Footsteps crunched behind them, festival-goers wandering too close. Silas melted into the darkness, leaving Mira trembling and more determined. A will she'd never trusted sparked inside her. She slipped from the woods and hurried back to the square, the lanterns overhead now looking less like beacons and more like hungry eyes. Tonight, she would prove that even the quietest apprentice could change the fate of the entire village. Moonrise poured silver over the cobblestones as Mira ducked away from the bustle of the festival. Her heart hammered as she crept behind the chapel, where a patch of wildflowers hid the cramped stairwell leading to the archives. She slipped inside, shutting the heavy door against the distant swirl of music and laughter. The air below was cool and musty, the stacks of parchment and brittle books rising like small mountains. Shadows stretched along the stone walls. Mira's candle flickered, barely touching the dark. She tiptoed past shelves marked with old family names and stopped at a case carved with moons and lantern shapes. A soft footfall. Mira tensed until a familiar silhouette coalesced in the candlelight. It was Silas, his dark eyes solemn. "You came," he murmured. "Did you think I'd lose my nerve?" Mira tried to sound steady, but Silas caught the quiver in her tone. "You're already braver than most," Silas said. He drew a packet from his cloak, unwrapping a fragment of yellowed map. Old records say the true lantern was hidden here after the bargain, but the spirits like riddles, they'll have left a trail. Together, they studied the map. Mira recognized blocky parish sketches and a drawing of a chained lantern under something labeled the Forgotten Well. "That's the oldest part of the archives," Mira said, her anxiety crisping into curiosity. "Nobody goes there. The elders say it's dangerous." "Perfect place for secrets," Silas replied, moving toward a heavy iron door. A cold wind, wrong somehow, whispered beneath the stone and a wisp of spirit light curled out, shivering the air. It lingered at Mira's shoulder, trailing whispers of lost lullabies. Mira squeezed her eyes shut, steeled herself, and pressed onward. With all her might, Mira heaved the iron door. Old hinges screamed, and the archive's air grew even colder. Inside, darkness pressed hard, but Mira's candle found something shining. A lantern, ancient and intricately etched, caged behind dusty glass. Silas exhaled. "You found it, apprentice. Now we see if you can remember what's meant to be forgotten." As they reached for the lantern, the ground shivered. Ethereal faces flashed in the candle's glow, crying out all at once. A warning, or maybe a plea. Mira did not flinch. She squeezed Silas's hand, her voice small but steady. "I'm ready. I'm not letting them take my village's memories. Not this year." The ancient lantern's glass was sooty, its metal frame laced with unfamiliar runes. Mira wiped the dust away, and at her touch, a faint pulse of light breathed to life within. The faces flitting in the shadows grew still, their eyes wide and watchful. Silas knelt, voice barely above a whisper. "Do you feel it? The memories pressed inside?" Mira nodded, her fingers tingling. "It's like hearing a song I should know, but can't remember the words." A wave of spirit light curled around the lantern, teasing at Mira's thoughts. Her first day apprenticing, the sweetness of her mother's lullaby, the loneliness that had clung to her for as long as she could recall. "Don't let them in," Silas warned gently. "Whatever you do, keep hold of yourself. This lantern is a door. Used wisely, you might be able to bargain for your village's memories, but open it the wrong way, and you might lose what you cherish most." Mira pressed the lantern close to her chest, determined. "How do I use it?" Silas retrieved a slip of parchment, written in spidery old ink. "There's a verse, the same one spoken in the first bargain, but only someone who remembers what was truly traded can utter it. That must be you." "But I wasn't there," Mira protested, panic flickering in her chest. "You remember what it's like to be forgotten. Silas said, his gaze soft. Close your eyes, let the lantern remind you, then speak the words. Mira inhaled shaky breaths and shut her eyes. The lantern warmed in her hands. Memories flooding in, fragments of other lives, moments of laughter and heartbreak, deals struck beneath lantern light. She saw children weeping in the dark, an elder's trembling voice promising safety to shapeless shadows. A single word surfaced, remembrance. Mira's lips formed the ancient verse, the syllables strange but honeyed with power. Light blazed from the lantern, spilling gold into every cobwebbed nook. Silas grasped her shoulder. Open your eyes, Mira. She did, and saw, not only the archives, but a phalanx of spirits crowding close, faces hopeful and afraid. They hungered not for memories, but for release. The air vibrated with a promise. Mira had spoken the language of bargains. Now the spirits were listening. The archives glowed with the heartlight of the ancient lantern. The spirits pressed forward, held back by nothing but the shimmer of memory-laden air. Mira steadied herself, voice almost lost in the trembling hush. What do you want from us? She called, words ringing sharp as glass. Shape swirled, coalescing into something almost human. A woman whose eyes bled sadness, a boy with hands like mist, a dozen others each mouthing silent pleas. One stepped forward, her voice echoing deep. The bargain bound us, your pain for your peace, our eternity for your forgetfulness. But the emptiness has grown. We are hollow, like your festival lanterns. We want what was once promised to be remembered, not feared. Silas made a low sound. You hear them, Mira, and they hear you. That's rare. Mira found her courage swelling. If you promise not to take any more memories, will you let us remember you? Will you let us remember everything? The spirits quivered. Then the woman bowed her foggy head. Let the light tell our story to the living. Let your festival be for remembrance, not forgetting. Give us a home in your hearts again, not just in your fears. Silas squeezed Mira's shoulder. That's how the true bargains are struck, with understanding, not with chains. A fresh wisp flickered close, whispering a childhood secret in Mira's ear. She smiled, a sliver of warmth blossoming. We can do that. I'll begin the story. Will you help us remember? Dozens of spirits nodded, glowing with hope and relief. The lantern in Mira's hands blazed, new patterns etching themselves into its glass, recalling faces, names, laughter lost and now returned. Suddenly the stone above groaned. The festivities above had stalled. The villagers felt a strange pull, a longing to remember. Mira hurried to the door, Silas at her side, the lantern's golden light showing the way. It isn't over, Silas said quietly. You've opened the door. Now the story must be told by you. Mira nodded, more certain than ever. Then I'll speak until every lantern burns with truth. Mira emerged into the night, the ancient lantern aglow in the crook of her arm. The village square was oddly hushed. 1,000 lanterns floated in the mist, but their joy had faded. Whispered confusion rippled through the crowd as Mira crossed the cobbles, Silas silent by her side. Mira's mother spotted her first, worry etching deep lines on her brow. Where have you been? The festival. Something's wrong. People are remembering things that don't make sense. Losses, old joys, distant voices. It's frightening everyone. Mira felt the words heavy on her tongue as she climbed the platform by the old festival tree. She looked out over the anxious faces, all the people who had overlooked, ignored, and forgotten her. Now they waited, as if sensing she was their last hope. Silas stood below, giving her a small, reassuring nod. Mira raised the lantern. Its golden light spilled out in ribbons, winding between every villager. The spirits shimmered at the edge of vision, some warm, some sorrowful, but all watching. Mira drew in a breath, the ancient verse stirring on her lips. Long ago we made a bargain, she proclaimed, her voice carried on the hush. We forgot so we could be safe. But forgetting hurt us, and the spirits too. They want to be remembered, not feared. Murmurs spread. Old Tolan stepped forward, voice rough with emotion. What does that mean for us? It means we can change the festival. We can honor all that's come before. Joy and sorrow, loss and triumph. She held up the lantern. The spirits have listened, and we have a chance to set things right. We can remember together. A silence settled, thicker than fog. Then, slowly, hands joined hands. Neighbors embraced, tears shining in their lantern light. Children gazed up, faces shining with hope and wonder. The spirits brushed across the crowd, stirring gentle, bittersweet memories without pain. Silas ascended the steps. You did more than bargain, Mira. You've changed what the lanterns mean. Mira met his eyes, her small voice steady. I'm not afraid anymore. I want us all to remember, so we can finally heal. For the first time, the Lantern Festival glowed with a new kind of light, the courage to remember, and the promise of a story still unfolding. Word of Mira's deeds carried like wildfire. Before dawn, the spirit light threaded through every home, coaxing memories long hidden beneath the surface. For some, it came as laughter echoing in dreams. For others, a pang of regret or a face glimpsed at the window, a reminder that sorrow and joy were twinned. Mira and Silas walked the cobbled paths, guiding villagers through the rush of recalled moments. Children, eyes wide with stories, gathered at Mira's feet. Is it true? One asked, tugging her sleeve. Did the spirits really live here with us? She knelt in the lantern glow. They still do in every memory we keep. Now, we honor them by remembering, not with fear, but with love. Silas watched her, pride glimmering in his gaze. You're teaching them the most powerful magic, forgiveness, of others and of themselves. Mira flushed, uncertain. She'd never thought of herself as wise or important. Yet, neighbors who had barely nodded before now sought her counsel, longing to mend wounds long suppressed. Not everyone found it so easy. Old Tolan struggled with grief that surged fresh, and Mira's mother wept for loved ones she'd forgotten. The square filled with stories, some joyous, some aching, but all shared beneath the lantern's forgiving light. Stories wound round the festival tree, a chorus of voices, tales of lost children found, of hardships that bound families close, and of promises made and kept even in sorrow. Spirits danced unseen, weaving gratitude into the night. For the first time, villagers set an empty lantern for each loss, vowing never to let a memory be forgotten again. Yet as moonset neared, a cold wind shivered through Sable Hollow. Silas's brow furrowed, concern flickering. There's a balance in old magics, Mira, he warned softly. For every memory returned, something must change. A new price the spirits may ask. Festival's not over yet. Mira stared into the heart of her lantern, resolve hardening. She knew their greatest test still awaited, the unspoken cost of a village's return to wholeness. As the first blush of dawn crept over Sable Hollow, an icy shudder rippled through the village. The lanterns, once warm and golden, flickered with a trembling blue light. Whispers threaded the streets, growing into a trembling chorus, an ancient magic awakening. Mira stood beneath the festival tree, lantern tight in her hands. Villagers clustered around her, uncertain and hopeful. Their faces reflected every joy and sorrow the night had restored. Silas appeared at her side, cloak whipped by a sudden unnatural gust. "What's happening?" Mira asked, voice taut. Silas's jaw was set. The spirits have kept their word. They gave back all that was lost. But the old rules demand a balancing. Remembrance, real and complete, always comes at a cost. All at once, the spirits shimmered into view. Countless silver forms spinning above, their eyes mournful yet resolute. The spirit woman from the archives descended until she hovered only a breath from Mira. "Our bargain is made whole," she intoned, her voice both everywhere and nowhere. "But one must stay to keep the memory's flame alive, a keeper to stand between our world and yours." The crowd stirred, fear returning. Mira's heart stumbled in her chest. She understood instinctively who the spirits meant. "No!" her mother cried, pushing forward. "Take me, not her. She's just a child." Silas interjected softly. "If you choose this, Mira, you'll bridge the border. You'll guide both kin and spirit, never fully leaving, never fully belonging." A tremor shook Mira, but she saw the truth in every face, her village's healing, the gentle longing of the spirits. She remembered all the years she'd felt invisible, unseen, and realized she'd become the heart of Sable Hollow. She turned to Silas. "Would I be alone?" He shook his head, a faint smile slipping through his worry. "No storykeeper ever is. I would stay with you as long as you wished." Tears welled in Mira's eyes, not of fear but of quiet acceptance. She raised the lantern skyward, its steady glow outshining the dawn. "I will be the keeper," she declared, her voice trembling but sure. "But Sable Hollow must promise to remember the spirits, to remember each other, every lantern festival from this day on." Around her, villagers joined hands. Their promise filled the blue-lit morning. The world held its breath, balanced on the edge of an ending, and the hope of a new beginning. A hush fell as Mira's words hung in the air, echoed by the lanterns above and the spirits swirling through the dawn. For a heartbeat, All of Sable Hollow seemed suspended between worlds, the living and the remembered, the mundane and the magical. The spirit woman's sorrowful gaze softened. She reached for Mira's hand, her touch cool but not cold. "You have mended the bond, child. You've shown great courage, and in doing so, changed the fates of all gathered here, both flesh and shadow." Light crackled through the old lantern, now shining with 1,000 new memories. As Mira stepped forward, a circle of spirits shimmered, bowing their heads in respect. Silas moved beside her, a steadying calm flowing from his presence. "You will not be forgotten, Mira," Silas reassured quietly. "This village will remember, and so will I." Families pressed close as dawn stretched over the hollow, children reaching out shyly to the dancing lights. Mira felt grief at all she would lose, her old life, the careless peace of childhood, but she also felt a deep pride blossom. The years of being overlooked had given her the power to look deeper, to notice what others had shunned. The villagers, recognizing her sacrifice, knelt in the new grass. Old Tolan wiped his eyes, and even Mira's mother, pride and sorrow warring in her smile, held herself strong. As the spirits encircled her, Mira lifted the lantern high. Its light fell on each person, etching a trail of silver flame that connected every heart in Sable Hollow. The festival, her festival, would never again be about forgetting. In the days and years that followed, stories were passed from lantern to lantern, children recited memories by candlelight, and the spirits flitted openly, guardians of both joy and sorrow. Mira, now the keeper, tended the true lantern, but never alone, for Silas remained by her side, and every villager bore a piece of the light. She watched over Sable Hollow, guiding both the living and the remembered, never fully apart, always at the heart of every story told. The cost had been real, but so was the hope, and the living memory of a village that had learned at last to honor every shadow and every light. In Sable Hollow, the Lantern Festival now burned brighter than ever, an eternal promise that no life and no memory would ever fade again.